In 1763, the French-Indian War, or also known as the Seven-Year War, between the French and Indian ended. The British had funded the American Indians and therefore lost tons of dollar bills in return. King George III realized that he could start taxing the Americans to start gaining back the money that he had lost from the war.
In 1765, the Stamp Act was put to use, which stated all papers, all documents needed a stamp. These stamps cost money and had high taxes, which caused people to flip out and to rage. People protested and eventually stopped paying it. This was a big deal for the Patriots, the people who wanted freedom from King George III. The Loyalists, who supported English, were conflicted. They didn't know whether to follow their fellow Americans or to stay true to their beliefs.
Then, on 1770, because the taunting and harassment of some teenagers, a brawl broke out and resulted in 5 deaths. The Redcoats, soldiers sent over from England, had accidentally fired, which made the fight even worse. From that day on, many Loyalists became Patriots because the English had killed their own. In 1773, the Tea Party happened. Basically, what happened was a big shipment of tea had just come from Britain, and because they were going to get taxed for it, the Americans, or the Patriots, dumped all the tea into the harbor.
Continental Congress began to meet around this time to discuss tactics and what to do about their freedom and independence. Fast forward to 1775 and the Battle of Lexington happens. The first shot was fired, though no one was side fired first. This was the first battle, the one that started the Revolutionary War. From then on, George Washington led most of the battles and was the general.
1776 came around and Common Sense, a novel by Thomas Page, was written. This encouraged people to believe that each man could govern himself. He didn't need a supreme ruler like King George. More and more people began to want independence. This book had a pretty big impact on what everybody thought. July 4th, or Independence Day, was the day that the Declaration of Independence was officially adopted by the Americans in 1776. Battles happened and the British had the upper hand, and things weren't looking so good for the Americans. Then, the French stepped in. Because they were angry and enraged at their massive defeat back in 1763, the French-Indian War, they wanted revenge. They wanted to see the British fall.
So they stepped in and gave resources and men to the Americans. In addition, the American had been ripped into shape by this time from all the battles that they had fought in. In 1781, the Battle of Yorktown ended the revolution. In a siege-like style, the French and the Americans cornered the British army and their general Cornwallis and forced them into a defeat. Later on, in 1782, the Treaty of Paris was signed, and from then on, America was recognized internationally as an independent country. Each man, just as Thomas Paine said, can rule himself. Liberty and freedom are never free.